you show up in country, your first deployment with the agency. What's your first impression?
The best dudes I've ever met have been in that job. They're the best shooters in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Even better than my standards in special operations.
Yeah.
I mean, I've shot with the best shooters in the world in special operations, and then I get to this job, and I was super impressed by the standards. The shooting qual is the hardest shooting qual in the government.
So you separate from the Army, finish your degree. How long do you go from your last day in the military to CIA?
So the contracting side,
Mm-hmm.
6 months, maybe
That's
more.
it? 6 months?
Yeah, 6 months.
Did you even want to give being a civilian a shot, or you just couldn't wait to get back over? Or?
Well, my anticipation at that time was I only wanted to do one other job, and that was to be a paramilitary operations officer for the CIA.
Okay.
That's it. The first casualty of the war, the global war on terror, was Michael Spann, and he was a former Marine officer and a member of that job and position. So I wanted to do that. I was ready to hang up my life, meaning my personal life and everything else, to just stay at war.
Yeah.
Because that's what I wanted. And I was chasing the rainbow.
A lot of guys, I mean.
Yeah. I was there in Libya, seeing those dudes operate, and was like, you know what, man, I want to be part of that. These guys are squared away. They don't seem to be dealing with a whole bunch of bullshit, and that's what I'm going to do. If I can't kill bad guys in special operations, then I'll get out and kill bad guys somewhere else. And that was what my thoughts were at the time.
That's funny how that mindset just goes across the board, because that's one of the reasons I wanted to go. And not a whole lot of people actually know that about you. I'm really in tune with your following on Instagram. I'm really in tune with your YouTube and your 8 social media channels that you have under Fieldcraft, plus your personal. And you never fucking bring that up. Not a whole lot of people know that you jumped over to CIA, and then, which is where we met.
Yeah.
So, and I'm really curious to hear what you have to say. What was your first impression? I mean, you go through training, let's breeze through that, but you show up in country, your first deployment with the agency. What's your first impression?
So the reason I did that job is they gave me that job as an interim from my staff position, which would have been paramilitary operations guy. So I did that job thinking it was a temporary thing, thinking it was only going to be a rotation or two until I got the call. When I showed up, I realized really fast that all the things that I thought about those positions and then the pot of gold at the end of that rainbow didn't exist. And they were dealing with shit just as much as I was. And so I started realizing that the job I was in wasn't that bad. In fact, it was pretty decent. I mean, without getting into too many details, there was an operational relevancy to it, which made me feel good about what I did for a living. Good pay, good experiences, and not a lot of bullshit. I mean, you kind of change your scale of bullshit when you go there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just came off active duty where I dealt with a lot of bullshit, so it wasn't that bad. And so for the first time, I think I was pretty happy with what I was doing. The operation ops tempo was decent, and the rotation schedule was good.
Were you at a flagpole?
I wasn't.
Oh, you went, okay.
I went straight to Yemen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where we met.
Yeah.
So that was your first deployment.
Yeah.
So what was your impression of the guys, of me? What was your impression of me?
You know what's crazy is people ask me that. Obviously, a lot of special operations guys ask me that. The best dudes I've ever met have been in that job. because I know, because of the vetting process, that they're the best shooters in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Even better than my standards in special operations.
Yeah.
I mean, I've shot with the best shooters in the world in special operations, and then I get to this job, and I was super impressed by the standards. The shooting qual is the hardest shooting qual in the government. There's no doubt about it, because I've been to the firearms instructor development course at Camp Perry to vet the hardest and most difficult courses. Outside of the U.S. Marshal, outside of the U.S. Marshal Service, the Air Marshal Service, it is the most difficult qual. So having that confidence that these guys are vetted, qualified to be where they're at, and that the myriad of backgrounds and experiences are brought together, I thought it was real cool, man.
Yeah.
I was super impressed. You're always going to have a dude here and there, but for the direct hires that I operated with, the independent contractors, there's nothing bad I could say about any of them. You know, some of them were quirky and weird, just like we all are.
Yeah.
But operations wise, the best I've ever worked with.
Well, that's cool to hear. Did you find it, one of the biggest struggles that I had working there was the integration of tactics, all because you're working with all the best units from all special operations. Everybody has their way of doing shit. Everybody thinks their way is the best. Some guys, like myself, can shut the fuck up and learn new ways and realize, hey, you know, this is what we have to do, and we have to be uniform if we're going to work together. And then there's, you know, the other crowd that they can't let go of, you know, their specific or their unit specific tactics. Where did you fall in that spectrum?
I try to strike a good balance. I did have recent GWAT experience in tactics, and you know how that is. The further displaced you get from the war, there's a whole bunch of different tactics that change.
Mm-hmm.
So I was heard, you know, when I brought up things, but I also try to be very careful about, one, being a new guy, but two, understanding that as long as the tactics worked, there could be a different way to skin the cat. I mean, there were things that I didn't necessarily agree with, but there are going to be different viewpoints and tactics. But if it works and doesn't violate security, I'm okay with that. So I had a better, easier time. And like I said, I needed that job.
Yeah.
I was transitioning, you know, obviously off of active duty. I needed that job, and I needed to be in a good place in that position. I had just made Sergeant Major in 19th Special Forces Group. So going back home, I had responsibilities, and so I just couldn't get caught up in any bullshit. There was drama like there is anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I just go to my room.
Yeah, you were a room hobbit.
Yeah, stay in my room.
You did a lot of squats that trip.
Yeah.
I literally saw your butt rising.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Week after week.
2 to 4 hours of squats a day. I had a nice ass after.
You
after
did.
That.
I was real nice one.
Man,
But
so nice.
I mean, that's cool though, because I mean, honestly, most guys in that outfit don't have near the fucking experience that you brought to the table. I mean, we just in an hour went over your, you know, breezed through your military career, and I mean, holy shit, dude, that's a lot of fucking trigger time. That's a lot of deployments, and that's a shit ton of experience. I mean, you named all the major schools. I think you left out JTAC, which we had talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be hard to bite your tongue with certain things. And anyways,
Yeah.
how long were you over there at the agency?
I did a total of 7 trips, 6.5, because my last trip wasn't a full trip.
Okay.
So I think before we met, I did maybe one rotation before that. Maybe.
It's hard to piece together.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So I did a total of 6.5, and my last trip was early 2016. And again, I don't advertise that experience, but I was going deploying back into war zones between my trips with the CIA. So I was going downrange, coming back, going straight on a deployment with 19th Group, and
Holy shit.
and coming right back in. And so it became redundant, and it became pretty overwhelming to get anything accomplished in civilian life.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.